Punch-Out is one of Nintendo's lesser-known franchises. Despite being initially released in the arcades in 1984, this series doesn't seem to get the respect it deserves, and in my opinion, the best Punch-Out game is Punch-Out Wii. This game brought the series to a whole new generation of gamers, and brought most of the iconic characters to life, with new dialogue, techniques, and quirks, while at the same time sticking true to the original NES game. In this list, I'll be ranking all of the boxers Mac fights in this game. I'll be discussing their fighting style, design, and personality of each combatant. Of course, this is my opinion, and will most likely differ from yours. Oh, and Little Mac won't be on the list. Let's go! Honestly, I don't dislike a single fighter in this game, but Von Kaiser is probably the weakest for me. Being the second challenger in the game, his initial fight isn't much of a challenge. His attacks are majorly telegraphed and don't do all that much damage. Unfortunately, this also stays true for his title defense fight. In this fight, he is slightly faster and attempts to juke you out with dodges. He also gains the Kaiser Bomb, a flashy, flippy move which instantly KOs Mac if it connects. But this is also very easy to dodge even for new players. Hailing from Germany, Kaiser takes the typical war veteran approach, complete with suspenders and a snazzy mustache. He actually has a boxing training school as well, and can be seen being defeated even by his students that are like 8 years old. Honestly, that's kind of sad Von Kaiser. Have you ever had that character who is so unlikable but in the best possible way? That is Super Macho Man. Being the typical Californian surfer dude, he is super narcissistic and full of himself. Even the lights guy hates him. However, this only makes him more fun to punch. His catchphrases also get kind of annoying after a while. Nothing beats Release the Bogus though. It's also worth noting that this guy is the first ranked boxer in the world circuit, aka the fight before Mr. Sandman, aka the fight before the final boss. And yeah, he's fairly challenging. At least in title defense mode, his contender fight was honestly easier than Bolt Ball. His signature move is the Super Macho Clothesline attack, which deals immense damage and is hard to dodge. And do I even need to mention how great his theme music is? King Hippo is the only character who doesn't really fit in. His stereotype isn't really based on much of anything. In fact, he doesn't even talk. He only makes grunts and grumbles. And all we know that he is a self-proclaimed king from some random island and that he likes to eat. That's it. Despite all of this, he is one of the more iconic characters from Punch-Out. And his fights are pretty decent too. His attacks deal a lot of damage, and he teaches the player about timing punches correctly. It kind of sucks that in order to beat King Hippo, you need to take him down only once. But his title defense fight is among the most creative in the game. In this fight, King Hippo uses a manhole cover to protect his stomach. The fight suddenly turns into a puzzle game where the player must find 3 ways to remove the cover, while also avoiding his gigantic attacks. Now for one of the biggest jokes in gaming history, Glass Joe. The Glorifier tutorial level. This guy is pathetic. I mean, his name is literally a play on Glass Jaw. And he's French. Make of that what you will. But there is something so likable about this guy. Maybe it's the fact that he has a 99-1 losing streak, or maybe it's how obviously French he is. But in one of the biggest surprises of the century, his title defense fights can actually be rather tricky. In this fight, he wears a protective helmet that completely negates all head blows, unless you get a star punch. I actually lost to this fight a couple of times on my first playthrough. Glass Joe is one of the most likable jokes in gaming history. Don Flamenco is the champion of the major circuit, and a ladies' man hailing from Spain who is apparently also a bullfighter. The essential qualities for all Spanish stereotypes. But it doesn't stop there. He dances the flamenco, carries a rose with him at all times, and his catchphrases are so stereotypical when translated. His initial fight is pretty fun, but can be easily cheesed with the infinite. Even without it, it's not even the hardest fight in the circuit. His signature move is the Rose Flurry, basically a series of quick hooks. His true colors show when you hit him hard enough and his toupee flies off of his head, revealing his secret to the world. This makes the fight much harder. His title defense fight is just more of the same, but a bit faster and harder to avoid, complete with his own infinite. Time for the fight that is most often overlooked, mainly because it's not even technically in the game. You can actually fight Doc Lewis. Unfortunately, this fight was only available to Club Nintendo members back in the day through Doc Lewis's Punch-Out! This game acts like a sort of prequel where Doc is training Little Mac, but don't be fooled, these fights can be pretty challenging. Doc Lewis's personality stays true even when in the ring, though his catchphrases can get a bit old. The final difficulty of the game, Sparring Mode, is where Doc Lewis does not hold back. He can recover his health from time to time via a chocolate bar, but if you punch away the chocolate, well, this happens.
No! Now you done it! You won't like Doc when he's angry. Ah!
Congratulations, you just pissed off Doc Lewis. From here on, the fight becomes harder than some of the title defense fights. He can even use a star punch of his own. Unfortunately, if you want to play this for yourself, the only option is through emulation. The only newcomer to the Punch-Out universe is Disco Kid, and he certainly left a good impression. Every time I replay through this game, I like Disco Kid even more. His flamboyancy and energetic fighting style is super contagious. He's the third boxer in the game, so naturally his fight isn't too difficult. In fact, he straight up tells you when he's going to attack. His appearance in title defense mode goes above and beyond. I mean, look at that drip. That leotard is fabulous. I really hope Disco Kid appears in the next game, and hopefully there'll be a next game. There's not much more I can say. Piston Hondo is proof that the Japanese can be stereotypical even to themselves. Many of the classic stereotypes are here. Bowing before and even during a fight, wearing a headband, a love of sushi, and Sailor Moon apparently. It's all here. Besides all that, he fights with passion and meaning. His backstory shows Piston Hondo trains rigorously to master his boxing ability, to the point where he can outspeed a bullet train. And this shows during his title defense fight, where he might be the fastest character in the game. He strings together some punches so fast it's almost impossible to dodge them all perfectly. And his signature move, the Hondo Rush, is just as satisfying to counter as ever. One of the best translations from old to new in my opinion. Great Tiger was my first major roadblock on my first playthrough. His fighting style is so much different from anyone else before him and after him. In his fight, Great Tiger uses magic to create spectral clones, teleport around the ring, and to disappear into thin air. I would like to say that he's cheating, but I don't see any rules in boxing about magic usage. That glowing gem on his turban shows which attack he is about to use, which demands the player to pay attention and not blindly throw punches. His title defense fight increases his damage as usual, and makes his signature move even harder to avoid. The only thing that would improve this fight is including that stuffed tiger in his corner like in the NES game. Mr. Sandman, the final boss of the game. He is no Mike Tyson, but he is still a terrifying and formidable opponent in both of his fights. Coming in from Philadelphia, his attacks are among the fastest and the strongest in the game. Swift overhead shots, powerful jabs, and even his signature move, the Dreamland Express, demands that Little Mac does not falter. But all of that pales in comparison to his title defense fight. Even faster, stronger, and a pinch of RNG in his winking attack, calling back to Mike Tyson and Mr. Dream. Unfortunately, his backstory isn't really explored. He just sort of exists to fill that void that Mike Tyson left. but still a good fight though, and it's worth noting that he is most likely based off of Joe Frazier. Come on, it's Donkey Kong. He is the true final boss of the game, with some of the hardest hitting moves in the game. Which makes sense, he is a gorilla after all. Who is making these rules for the WVBA? His personality in this game takes more from his playful side, rather than his animalistic, fierce side, and I think this was a good call. He is so energetic, he is just happy to be here. Honestly, I think he's kind of cute in a weird way. Not much more can be said, except he easily has the best failure cutscene where he casually kidnaps Little Mac in front of the entire crowd, while also calling back to Pauline. Bald Bull might be the most iconic character that isn't Little Mac. If I'm not mistaken, he has been in every single Punch-Out game, even the arcade ones, even the arm wrestling game. Hailing from Istanbul, Turkey, get it? This guy has some serious anger issues. He is literally emitting steam. His title defense fight is, in my opinion, the hardest fight in the entire game, more so than Mr. Sandman. Mainly because he can't be knocked down by regular means. Only star punches can knock this guy down. And stars are insanely scarce and hard to keep. Even countering his signature move, the Bull Charge, doesn't KO him anymore. He is seriously scary in title defense. Finally, apparently Bald Bull and Doc Lewis have some sort of rivalry. I would love to see this explored some more in the future. Soda Popinski is a dentist's worst nightmare. Popinski, previously known as Vodka Trunkensky, is a force to be reckoned with. This towering beast of a boxer has some of the scariest uppercuts in the game, lightning quick and deals a load of damage. He can even heal himself via soda, but you can punch it away, but just be careful about the oncoming onslaught of uppercuts. In his title defense fight, he is pretty much doping. The soda contains certain scientific chemicals that turn soda into a monster that's even stronger and faster, complete with some blue speedos. Also, his rendition of the Punch-Out theme is just beautiful to the ears. Are you hearing this? Bear Hugger is just a joy. This jolly, rotund fellow hails from Canada, and the game wants you to know it. Every Canadian stereotype is here: maple syrup, saying A all the time, bears, squirrels, lumberjack, etc. His fighting style is similar to King Hippo. Slow, relatively easy to dodge blows that take a ton of health by the way if they connect, and his signature move, the Bear Hug, is truly terrifying. His title defense fight is unlike any other. In this fight, Bear Hugger has a companion squirrel under his hat, Ratatouille style, and it's truly adorable. In the end, Bear Hugger is one guy I'd gladly grab a drink with. Most of you have figured it out. My favourite Punch-Out boxer is the beautiful Irish bastard that is Aaron Ryan. This guy fights like no other, mainly due to the fact that he cheats. A lot. But before we get into that, can we just appreciate the glow-up? In Super Punch-Out, Aaron Ryan was just so boring and bland with very little unique aspects about him. But in Wii, he is a joy to watch and to listen to. Much like Bald Bull, this guy is insane. He seems to enjoy being hit by Mac and always has that maniacal smile on his face. His fighting style includes attacks such as hooks and overhead punches, as well as headbutts, elbow shots, and a weapon. Yeah, needless to say, this fight stands out, but the fight also requires counterattacks to win, being the only fight with this requirement. And yeah, this dude is so obviously Irish, not only from the accent or the clover, but also the fact that he always gets up on the number 7 and Mac has 7 hearts during this fight. Fun, unique, and a glorious glow-up. No other fighter can surpass Aaron Ryan for me.